What's going on, everybody? C4, welcome back to the channel, and today we are here for my first two-round 2023 NFL mock draft, and also my first mock draft with trades. Wanted to kind of get this out to you guys now as a grieving Eagle fan. The only thing positive really to look forward to is the fact that we have 2 first-round picks in the draft, so I kind of wanted to hop in here. Plus, there's a couple hirings around the league, which I personally can now see how the board's going to set, and maybe some teams that might want to trade up, like realistic trades. I don't want to do a trade mock draft that ends up just being ridiculously trade happy and the draft order gets absurd. But I also want to have a little bit of fun with it. We're going to spice things up a little bit, and let's get into it. We will pick up the pace just a little bit because it is a 2-round mock draft, but I want to have that second round in today's video because a lot of these first-round trades are going to involve second-round picks and teams that are trading back. I kind of want to see, what value they're going to get out of trading down. Speaking of trading down, that is exactly how we are starting this video, as the Chicago Bears at pick 1-1 find themselves a trade partner in the Indianapolis Colts. Just announced Shane Steichen as their brand new head coach. And they're going to get a guy that I think he is going to clearly have as his quarterback 1. We're going to trade a first this year, a first next year, and a third this season. So they could go up and secure Bryce Young, the quarterback out of Alabama. I haven't had any other quarterback at QB1. I personally believe it's easily Bryce Young as my quarterback 1, but you got to understand Shane Steichen. He is going to want someone that can kind of be Jalen Hurts. And there's no Jalen Hurts in this year's draft class. Maybe Anthony Richardson has like the ceiling to be a Jalen Hurts, but like CJ Stroud's not really a dual threat. Will Levis's not a dual threat. Bryce Young's not really a dual threat either. He has mobility. I mean, same could be said for CJ Stroud, but I think the intangibles between the ears is where Jalen Hurts really started to separate from he's at his ceiling, he's not going to be an NFL quarterback, to the progression that we saw to an MVP candidate and lights out in the Super Bowl. I think it's between the ears is where Jalen Hurts improved the most, being able to read the defense, being able to manipulate linebackers. And I think that is what Shane Steichen's going to value in a quarterback. Who is the general? Who is going to be the smartest quarterback in this year's draft class? And I think that's unquestionably Bryce Young. Is it worth trading up 2 first-round picks to go up 3 spots to get your franchise guy? I think absolutely, and I almost think that that's what Irsay promised. It's like, Steichen, you come here, we will get you whatever quarterback you want in this draft class, and he's going to go, okay, get me Bryce Young. Houston sitting at pick 2, they're going to grab a quarterback. Seems like Josh McCown, it's just on Twitter, and it was a Twitter video, I think it was like some sort of YouTube series Josh McCown was doing, but he seemed to be fanboying over CJ Stroud. He is now, I believe, the OC there, right, or quarterback coach. He's involved in the offense. D'Amico bringing him in after he had head coaching interviews, right? It was Jonathan Gannon, the Eagles DC, and like Josh McCown getting like head coaching interviews last year with the Texans before they went with Levy. So I think in the building, we already know, at least from the outside coming in with McCown, that they're a big fan of CJ Stroud. I think if it comes down to trading for a veteran, they're not going to be in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. Give me CJ Stroud over Davis Mills or any other quarterback they could potentially get, and just stay in pat there. You have other draft picks in the first round that you're going to be able to, fill and address the rest of your needs. Get easily, in my opinion, the second best quarterback right now. Maybe not the highest ceiling. I have Gator bias for, as I would say, the high. I like Anthony Richardson in the long term over C.J. Stroud. But for getting someone that can play in 2023, 2024, C.J. Stroud needs to be the guy for Houston. Pick 3, the Arizona Cardinals. Easy pick, running it up. It's going to be interesting to see. Maybe this could change depending on who their new head coach is. It looks like it's going to be a defensive guy, Amarulo or Jonathan Gannon from the Eagles. Go Will Anderson. Get yourself the premier edge rusher. I think he was misused a little bit by Alabama last year. I think he's going to dominate the combine if he tests. Seems like he could be one of those guys that might not go to the combine. I hope he does, because he's an absolute alien, and he's the best edge rusher in this class. And I think a good edge will always go before a good defensive tackle. The Chicago Bears are laughing. The guy that many people want and mock and think they're going to get at 1-1, they're just going to get him a pick 4. Jalen Carter. Yep, carry on. Great pick, Chicago. Pick 5, we have Seattle. Now, this is a little bit of an interesting one. I think there's logic. As you can see, the 2 edge rushers here are the pick from NFL Mock Draft Database Simulator. I think with how Seattle's been developing players, just in general on the defensive side of the ball, look no further than Tariq Woolen. He's the poster boy of what their coaching staff can do. And I think you look at Myles Murphy and Tyree Wilson, both these guys are high ceiling, rough around the edges pass rushers. So it's going to have to, it's going to probably come down to the combine, but to spice it up a little bit, we'll go with the guy that might have a little bit better tape as a potential tiebreaker between the two, and that is Tyree Wilson. Elite length for the position, should test very well if he does test at the combine and or pro day. I think a high ceiling defensive player with how Seattle's track record's been coming off of last year's draft class, you should feel very confident in that pick that they'll get themselves finally a premier pass rusher. Detroit at number 6. I really like this pick. I think Christian Gonzalez, it's a little bit of a logjam for the top corners. You have Gonzalez, Joey Porter, Devin Witherspoon. I even think I like Cam Smith on the outside. Kind of reminds me a little bit of J.C. Horn coming out of South Carolina. Lazy comp, but they're both very aggressive corners. Joey Porter is very aggressive. I think just when all is said and done, I think the top athletes are going to rise to the top. And that's not a bold take, but I think when you have a log jam of these corners, like all these guys that are legit first rounders, you're going to see, I don't want to say the Kaiser, oh God, how am I even, Kaiir Elam, the Kaiir Elam approach, where it's like, all right, so you see like all these legit first rounders, but the guys that kind of test a little bit better, guys that prove they're a little bit athlete, those are the guys that go a little bit earlier. And Kaiir Elam was still a great athlete, but wasn't maybe on the Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner territory. And obviously those guys also were just better players anyways. But you know what I'm saying? The dust kind of settles, I think, for the corner room after the combine. The top athletes are going to be the guys that go first. And I think Christian Gonzalez will be the top athlete in that room. We have Vegas up at pick 7. I had them go Paris Johnson my last mock draft. I'm actually going to have them go Skoronski here at 7 just because it gives them a 2-4. They have not had a great hit rate on their first round picks. And while maybe the value at 7 for a guard wouldn't be ideal, I think you definitely try to plug and play Skoronski at tackle, make him the right tackle. And if it doesn't work out, you're going to have a high ceiling, high floor guard. So it's just an incredibly safe pick. I think even more safer than Paris Johnson. I think for a team like Vegas that has to hit, you kind of go with the safer pick. Pick 8, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and they're going to get themselves a nice little pass rusher here in Miles Murphy, the edge rusher out of Clemson. He definitely needs to have a great combine to justify a top 10 selection, but if he does have a great combine, then it's easy. You know, we saw Trevon Walker last year. You don't necessarily have to put up a lot of stats in college to go high. If you have the athletic ability, if you have the upside, the perceived ceiling that you're going to be an unstoppable edge rusher, all these teams are going to be chopping the bit that the belief that they're going to be the ones that develop you and bring you to that ceiling. I think that's going to be the confidence the Atlanta Falcons are going to have in this selection at 8. Carolina at 9. I love this pick. Anthony Richardson, go do it. Get Frank Reich, Anthony Richardson. I want to see that. Enough said. Philadelphia pick 10. I'm going to have them go Joey Porter Jr. I like Devin Witherspoon's tape a lot more personally, but I think the fact that Witherspoon's like a $180 and likely won't be super fast. I don't think he'll be slow, but I can see him being like a 4.5 in the 40. Someone like Joey Porter Jr., that's 6'2", 200 pounds, maybe a little too aggressive, maybe a little worried that he'll draw some penalties and stuff like that, but he's going to be 20 pounds heavier than Witherspoon and likely get around like 4.3, high 4.3s, low 4.4s. The better athletes are going to rise to the top, but more so do something a little bit different. I think if you told me at Philly at 10, Gut, Porter, or Witherspoon, I would absolutely love that pick. Pick 10, we have the Tennessee Titans. They're going to grab Paris Johnson Jr. There is your Taylor Lewan replacement. We have another trade at pick 12. The Texans, D'Amico, get him as many assets as you can. They are going to be trading pick 12 because there's one quarterback remaining. And I think trying to project where the veterans are going to go. I think Washington is definitely a prime location for like your Derek Carr, Jimmy G, or whatever. But I'm going to assume like, all right, Garoppolo to the Raiders, Rodgers to the Jets, Carr to the Saints. Like that's kind of how I'm playing. The Commanders still on the outside looking in. So they are going to trade 16 and their third rounder, 1 and 3, to move up a couple spots here so that they can secure the service of Will Levis. I think Will Levis might have the best release in this year's draft class. Great arm talent. Not his biggest fan, but I think at 12 it's a reach. There's all these quarterbacks are going to go. Especially, it's one. I think the argument for Will Levis is where would you have gone last year? Like would Levis have gone ahead of Kenny Pickett? I feel like it's close. I feel like it would have been close. I like that argument. Either way, though, I do think there are first round traits in Will Levis, and there you go, Commanders. You have a potential new franchise quarterback, or you stay pat and go Sam Howell. I'm a big Sam Howell guy, but I don't know. I feel like maybe there's a little smoke there with Sam Howell being their starter. I feel like there was if Sam Howell wasn't getting reps for that long behind Wentz and Heineke, when clearly he should have been their starter day one. I did a Commanders rebuild, and immediately Sam Howell was my starting quarterback. I mean, obviously that's Madden, but that's how I kind of fell with that quarterback room. The fact it took that long for Howell to get on the field, I'm not going to rule out Washington kind of just maybe bluffing that he's their guy, and they're going to try to trade up and grab whatever quarterback's remaining. Pick 13, we have the Jets, and I'm going to have the Jets select Broderick Jones, tackle from Georgia. You obviously have the big question mark with the big ticket, Mekhi Becton. What's going on there? Get him back. Hopefully you get him back. If not, if he does, then you got, there you go. There's your right tackle. You move on to the left tackle. That'll be your right tackle. We have the Patriots at pick 14. This is honestly a very tough pick for me. I went Jordan Addison, a wide receiver. And wide receiver is not a super popular pick for the Patriots. I just think you need to get Mac Jones some weapons. You finally get himself an offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien. Who's he throwing to? Who's he throwing? Kendrick Bourne? Jacoby Myers? Nelson Aguilar? You get Tyquan Thornton. Get a bona fide first rounder. Jordan Addison, kind of similar. Like, if I had to put a compo right now, to the game, it's easier to make it. He kind of gives me a little Devontae Smith, a little bit. Maybe not. He's fast, but not a burner. He's a good route runner, but he's not super physical to get off the top of his routes. But he can catch the ball. Good jump ball. Weirdly good at adjusting in the air and with the jump. I don't know what my top wide receiver is. I always thought it was JSN, but JSN's clearly your Amon-Ra St. Brown. You don't want to put him in the slot. I think he might have a better potential of an outside wide receiver here in Addison, even though I think he's like Devontae Smith in the regards that he can move all around. I think he can play every single position at wide receiver. That versatility for me, I think he might be the safest wide receiver for what he can do on the inside and outside, therefore could go first. Green Bay at 15. This was kind of an interesting one for me. I'm going to go Brian Branch. Safety seems like an underrated need for the Green Bay Packers. Tight end is where you see it all over the place. I don't know if they're going to go tight end at 15. It's going to be a new era there for Jordan Love. Maybe get a pass catcher. Quentin Johnson. Is that what they need, though? He's kind of similar to what they have in Christian Watson. Could go JSN, honestly. That'd be where I would have gone if I didn't go Brian Branch, but it seems like Green Bay definitely wants to invest in the safety spot. Darnell Savage not working out. Brian Branch could even end up being a corner, nickel corner. So he's at this point, I think, for a pure DB versatility-wise, he's the best guy there at 15. But if not, I think JSN could be very intriguing to the Packers at 15. 16, we have the Houston Texans on the clock, and we're going to get them some pass rush help and get Lucas Van Ness, redshirt sophomore, high ceiling pass rusher here out of Iowa. Versatile, can play all over the front. I think D'Amico Ryan's really going to fall in love with the fact that he can play a bunch of different positions on that defensive line. Pick 17 with the Steelers. They're getting Devin Witherspoon. Great corner, gritty corner. I think Mike Tomlin's going to fall in love with him, and he's going to be a day one starter for you guys on the outside. Detroit at 18. Brian Brzee, the D lineman from Clemson. Hopefully, I really want to see him go to the combine and test well. Prove that he's the same player post-injury. He's the easy guy to root for. And this could end up being a steal at pick 18, getting a guy that, if healthy, if it's the Brian Brzee from 2 years ago, top 10 talent, easy. Pick 19 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm going to have them grab a corner and get Cam Smith. Just got to kind of retool that defense a little bit. Wasn't as elite of a unit as it should have been. That defense has been able to carry them out of a lot of money situations when the offense has kind of sputtered a little bit. Wasn't the case last year, so go get a very aggressive physical corner out of South Carolina to come challenge. And Murphy Bunton's probably set to hit free agency. Jamel Dean, are they going to pay him? Feels like a safe pick. Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks. After getting Tyree Wilson at 5, they're sitting here at 20. Might not love this pick. This is going to be more so judge it when we're done all 4. I'm going to have them go with Cyrus Torrance. Almost consensus the top guard. Could have been a first rounder. Last year, a small school, but followed Billy Napier to the University of Florida and was the best guard against SEC. He's the best guard. He's an absolute mauler. Day one starter for Seattle. And Seattle clearly, with the investment of Kenneth Walker, they want to be able to run the football. How do you do that? You have a great offensive line. You build your offensive line like the Philadelphia Eagles. Torrance goes a long way. Plus, might not love a guard at 20, but the rest of the draft, when all said and done, I think Seahawks fans are going to be happy with it. Chargers at 21. I had them going this in my last mock draft. They're going to get a guy that can just get open downfield. Be their burner. Quentin Johnson. Mike Williams is your jump ball guy. Even though he's good downfield, he's your jump ball guy. I think a lot of reports are going to move on from Keenan Allen. He could be a cap cut. I think it was Keenan Allen and their tight end that they got from the Rams, Gerald Everett, could be just cap casualties. So I think you can take someone like Josh Palmer, put him in the slot, and then you go Quentin Johnson and Mike Williams on the outside. And then obviously, inevitably, when Mike Williams gets hurt, hopefully Johnson can just be your utility guy as well. You can use him for a little bit of gadget plays, but just a ridiculous athlete. But he's the Anthony Richardson of the skill position players. He's a guy that's you could absolutely see a scenario where this guy is unstoppable, but you also can see how he's going to be the next Kevin White, potentially. So it's a little boomer bust here, but I think for Justin Herbert in that offense, there could be more of a chance that this is a boom than a bust with that kind of service. Pick 22, Baltimore. I said he might be my favorite wide receiver, and that's just what Baltimore does. They get players that I constantly rate incredibly high, and they just fall to them every year. They're going to get JSN. Hopefully, Baltimore does right by Lamar Jackson and keeps him and pays him and gets him some more weapons. And JSN is the best weapon available right now to help out that Ravens offense. Minnesota at pick 23. I'm going to have them go. I thought about Bijan, and that's like the one thing. My one common thing right now in my mock drafts. I've had Bijan Robinson fall to the Eagles. I've had him fall to the Buffalo Bills. He should go way higher. He is a top 10 talent, but it's just running backs. And the depth of the running backs in this year's draft class might affect his value because teams are just going to be like, even if you need a running back, the teams are going to be like, the value might not be there for Bijan. Bijan's outstanding, best running back prospects in Saquon Barkley. But do I really want to invest the first round, or can I get a running back? Gibbs, Charbonnet, Bigsby, McIntosh, Spears. Can I get one of these guys second, third round and just get almost as much value and then also still have my first round pick to invest somewhere else? It's kind of the knock. I can see Minnesota. It seems like Dalvin Cook could be, looking at a little bit of Viking Reddit. Could be a cut, potentially. I just think you have to go corner, and Kelee Ringo is going to, even though his tape was not very good near the end of the college football season, he does have some good tape, and when all is said and done, he's going to destroy the combine. He is, and I think the success of Tariq Woolen, regardless of the tape, is going to make a team jump on Kelee Ringo. And for Minnesota, how desperate they are in the secondary, I'm going to have them kind of go with this pick. Even though it may not be my favorite, I don't even know if I have a first-round grade on Ringo. And I say that by fully admitting also, when he runs like a 4.3 at 6'2", 210, 220, I'm going to be like, all right, yeah, just, hopefully he gets developed like Tariq Woolen and he looks like an absolute stud. And he's Georgia Bulldog. Those guys don't bust for the most part. 20, phrasing. Get your mind out of the gutter. Pick 24, we the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to get Michael Mayer. I have the success of Evan Ingram last year, but he's set to be a free agent. Could bring him back. I can see, but I don't know. Ingram might want to just cash out. So let's get the best tight end. It's a really good tight end class. Michael Mayer, Darnell Washington, Dalton Kincaid, Luke Musgrave, all getting potential first round, top 50 vibes. But I still think Michael Mayer is the safest of the bet. He's most well-rounded, and that'll be a hell of a safety net for the future for Trevor Lawrence. Giants at pick 25. This is maybe a little bit of a bold one. I have them going Drew Sanders. I think the Giants desperately need linebacker. They could go wide receiver, and I will say in hindsight, for how the rest of the picks, I think Giants go, if they go wide receiver at 25 and then a linebacker the next pick, it might look a little bit more balanced. But I think Drew Sanders, who was a 5-star athlete recruit, has shades of Micah Parsons. He's not Micah Parsons 2.0. He has shades of Micah Parsons from the sense that, I think he could do almost anything at linebacker. He is a defensive weapon. He can play off-ball linebacker. He can rush the passer. He can drop back into coverage. And I feel like much like I just said, Kelee Ringo is going to have teams trying to chase the next Tariq Woolen. I think you're going to see a linebacker that can do it all. As long as he tests well. He's going to have to test very well. But again, he was a 5-star athlete, should test very well. It's going to be, can Drew Sanders be somewhat of a Micah Parsons type player? And I think that's going to be enough to have him maybe elevate over someone like Trenton Simpson, which is more of your traditional off-ball linebacker. Pick 26. It was going to take someone incredibly bold. I don't know. I just can see that happening. I would absolutely hate it because I would love the luxury of Philadelphia having the opportunity to get Bijan Robinson. Zeke's probably gone. Who knows what's happened to Tony Pollard, especially that late injury. I just think that's a Jerry Jones pick right there. Texas, Bijan's still there. It kind of reminds me of like CeeDee Lamb vibes. They had, at that point, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, right? Did they need a wide receiver? Probably not. You look at Dallas. If Zeke restructures and Tony Pollard, like a Zeke-Tony Pollard works, especially if they just continue to let Tony Pollard clearly be the running back one and a cheaper Zeke Elliott, that's fine. But I just can't see Jerry Jones at this point just being so blinded, but we're going to get the Texas kid. I don't know. And plus, maybe things break out in that running back room where they're going to need a running back. Running back's a big need for Dallas. So Bijan there, that's annoying. Could have gone in Buffalo as well. Maybe Philly, maybe even Cincinnati with Joe Mixon and that whole deal. Next up, we have Buffalo pick 27. Wasn't in love with the pick. Wasn't in love with the board. I was like, are they going to go running back? Gibbs? Nah. They got the younger Cook more involved down the stretch. Maybe that's a sign of thing. So, Trey Edmonds seems like he's going to be bouncing. So I have them going Trenton Simpson. I don't love linebacker for Buffalo here. It's an offensive league. But where else are you really going? Zay Flowers, Hyatt, you kind of have that in Gabe Day. Like, just not a lot of options here. So I kind of just it was either safety or linebacker, and I feel like Simpson is the best value, best available player, 27 for Buffalo. 28, we have Cincinnati. I actually had them going. This is my first mock draft. I'm having them go Darnell Washington. I think it's a luxury pick. He's a great blocker, which I think will help because there's not a lot of I didn't have any tackles right now with a first-round grade. I think Harrison is a fringe first-rounder. I think DeJuan Jones could also kind of be a fringe first-rounder. Darnell Wright's getting a lot of hype from the Senior Bowl. But I don't know. I feel like the upside of Washington, who right now is going to be an extra offensive tackle, that also might develop into just a ridiculous red zone tight end. And I feel like that's a luxury move that the Bengals might try to make to put them over the edge. Love to hear what you guys think about that one. New Orleans at 29. What do we got? I didn't love this pick, but I think he might go in the first round. All said and done, Saints have a desperate need. Looking at the board, running back Gibbs. I didn't love that. I don't know if they're going to give up on Kamara. They want to invest a first-round pick in a running back. I thought maybe edge rusher as well. That they could definitely go edge for value. But in terms of value and need, I think I like Ika as a first-rounder. He has Vita Vea type vibes, and that's not just because of he's whatever they're called, Polynesian. He's a monster. He's one of my favorite players in the class. Best run stuffer in this year's draft class. And I think he is a massive need. You look at the free agents. It looks like there's going to be a lot of turnover at the defensive tackle spot for the New Orleans Saints. Ika is a dog. You put this way, and know what team? You see Vita Vea twice a year. You see just how goddamn good he is. Ika is not the same athlete as Vita Vea, but I think he can bring a similar impact to just absolute game record of stopping the run. So I really do like that selection. But they could go edge as well. Saints are a tough pick. Would love to actually hear at 29, what would you go? From what I could tell, just kind of doing a little bit of research, seems like Gibbs might have been the actual pick there. But I think Ika, he's outstanding. Outstanding run defender. 30 for Philadelphia. I'm going to have them go Nolan Smith, the edge rusher from Georgia. The injury's kind of there. Philly has no problem kind of redshirting guys or waiting for them to be ready. And I think with, we're going to be losing some guys at the pass rush spot on the defensive line. I think Nolan Smith is an easy replacement. You can put Hassan Riddick down on the defensive line to take over for Brandon Graham. So it's going to be, Hassan Riddick on one side, and you could go Josh Sweat on the other. And then you kind of have that linebacker hybrid rusher. That could be Nolan Smith. A little bit undersized, but still a terrific pass rusher. Really like that value. And really liking the value, I think a team like Kansas City would be all over Isaiah Foskey. I have a first-round grade on Foskey right now. It will depend on how well he does test at the combine, what kind of athlete is in there. But I think both Kansas City and Philly are just laughing that they're getting, guys that could end up being the best edge rushers in the class to kind of finish out the first round. Now we're going on to round 2, even though it says round 1. It's just because, the forfeited pick. The Pittsburgh Steelers are up, and I'm going to have the Steelers here go on the offensive line, get a tackle, and they're going to go DeJuan Jones. I feel like they're going to fall in love with the height weight of DeJuan Jones, biggest wingspan ever, and just put that guy there, left tackle. Houston at pick 33. We're going to give them a speedster, Jalen Hyatt at Tennessee, one of the best deep threats in this year's draft class, a nice weapon for C.J. Stroud. Pick 34, we have the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to have them stay at wide receiver because there's rumors that they might want to be trading DeAndre Hopkins. A.J. Green retired. I'm going to get Josh Downs. I think Josh Downs just incredibly productive at North Carolina. I watch a lot of Drake May. He just finds ways to get open. I feel like Josh Downs and Hollywood Brown, that could be very dangerous. Very dangerous for Kyler Murray whenever he gets back healthy. Colts at pick 4 in the second round. I'm going to get Anton Harrison at tackle. Seems like Raymond is not ideal. Even Raymond kind of pans out. You can get a little bit of flexibility there. Maybe kick the dude from Auburn, Braden Smith, back into guard and get better 2 spots. You can kick Braden Smith back into right guard and have Harrison be your right tackle. Harrison, I don't believe, if I remember correctly, IIRC, 0 sacks allowed last year at Oklahoma. So very good pass protector for their brand new quarterback. Rams are finally clocked. They get in the edge rusher. We get them B.J. Ojulari from LSU. Some people might even have him in the first round, so that's a good value pick for the Rams who desperately need some pass rush help. Seattle is up at pick 6 in the second round. I'm having to give them a run stuffer, and Mazi Smith from Michigan, a ridiculous athlete, was the number 1 athlete on Bruce Feldman's freaks list, so he should show it at the combine, 320-some pounds. Great run stuffer. It's really him and Ika that I think are like the 2 top run stuffers in this year's draft class. Maybe betting on the outside looking in from Wisconsin. Pick 7 in the second round for the Raiders. I'm going to get a corner in Emmanuel Forbes. Absolute SEC proven ball hawk. Lots of interceptions, lots of turnovers. That's what the Vegas secondary needs. Pick 8 in the second round, we have the Carolina Panthers. Didn't love this pick, but I think after the combine, the Senior Bowl number is pretty much, he's going to put up a big combine. 6'5", 250, 4'5", low 4'5" type speed, and Luke Musgrave might have the highest ceiling out of all the tight ends, and I think getting the best pass catcher at this point. Could go Zay Flowers, but I think, I didn't love. I feel like maybe it's not working out there at tight end. Maybe they want to try something different. Tommy Tremble's good in Madden. What's the status quo on him right now for Panthers fans? I think if you get yourself a Richardson, you got to get him a safety net. I think Musgrave might have the best chance in developing to that safety net for Anthony Richardson. Pick 9, we got the New Orleans Saints. A little bit of a luxury pick here. I'm going to go with this year's George Pickens. I think there's some legal issues going on right now. But Kayshon Boutte, local kid out of LSU. I just think he kind of retooled that wide receiver room. Michael Thomas in the slot, Boutte, and Olave on the outside for Derek Carr. There you go. That's what you're doing. Tennessee at pick 10, just run on wide receivers. I think they need another pass catcher there. They're going to get Zay Flowers. He's another guy I really want to see. Got a lot of hype already. And if he runs fast, he's he just gets open. A lot of shades to Antonio Brown. And I think Tennessee needs another receiving threat on that squad. You can do better than Westbrook Ikine. Browns are finally on the clock here at pick 42, a.k.a. pick 11 in the second round. And I have them get Jervin Dexter from Florida. High ceiling. Not a great production at Florida, but he was, at times, you can kind of tell, like our best D lineman. And I think Cleveland desperately needs a defensive tackle. Looking at the D tackles that are available, I don't think that's a bad range for him. Could look at Ben, maybe we're a run stopper, but I think Cansey and Tuipulotu, niche. Maybe better for a 3-4 defensive end spot, or clearly an inside interior pass rusher. Like Cansey or one of these guys might be a perfect fit for Philly to replace Javon Hargrave. Or if you're a free agency team that misses out on Hargrave, you probably are going to want one of these two. But more for a run stuffer, I think you're going to be looking at Dexter and Benton as your traditional 4-3 tackle. So that's why you have Dexter going to Cleveland. Next up, we have the Jets, and I'm going to have them get Antonio Johnson. Value pick here, safety out of Texas A&M. I think he might fall slight victim to, like, where is he going to play? What's going to be his best position? Because he's huge. He could be like a hybrid linebacker. I think he definitely has the coverage ability, the coverage chops to play safety, but I think he might fall a little bit depending, unless he tests well, because he is trending in borderline positionless territory in the back end of that defense. But I think the Jets are going to fall in love with him, and they get some help in the secondary. 13 for the Falcons. I'm going to go interior in the offensive line to get Cody Mock. I think he started as a tackle in North Dakota State, but he played like everywhere in the Senior Bowl. I think Atlanta definitely needs some boost to the interior of that offensive line. So that's what we're going to do to help out Desmond Ridder. I think they're probably going to give a fair shot there at quarterback next year. Green Bay back on the clock, and we'll find them a tight end here. They're going to get Dalton Kincaid, who, what was that game? Was it USC? He had like 300 yards. It was ridiculous. Very good receiving tight end. And Green Bay gets their tight end, except this time not in the first round. They found one waiting for them in the second round. Patriots at pick 15 in the second round. I have them going Darnell Wright, tackle from Tennessee, former 5-star recruit. Easy get there for the Patriots. Hopefully they can develop him up. Now we're going to actually have another trade. The Commanders trying to get back a little bit after they had to trade up to get Mr. Will Levis. I actually have Jacksonville trading up. They're going to give a 2 and a 4 to move up so that they could get, who actually had them getting in my last mock draft in the first round, Clark Phillips III. They get the best, arguably, nickel corner in this year's draft class, which is a big need for that Jags defense. Detroit is up at pick 17 in the second round, and I'm going to have them get an edge rusher in Will McDonald out of Iowa State. He had a farm, and he's a pretty good pass rusher, very productive. Pittsburgh up at pick 18 in the second round. I'm going to have them address the linebacker spot and get my favorite linebacker. I think, when all is said and done, I really do think he's underrated. Jack Campbell out of Iowa. Looks like there's going to be a little bit of turnover there for the Pittsburgh Steelers at the linebacking core. I think Jack Campbell can contribute sooner than later. Tampa Bay at pick 19. We're going to get them an edge rush here. Keon White, he's like 285. Could be kind of move all over that Bucs defense. Very high ceiling. Old Dominion transferred at Georgia Tech. Great athlete. He's going to be one to watch, especially for the combine. I think he could stand out there. Miami up at pick 20 in the second round. We're going to give them a running back. And Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama. Yeah, you got Jeff Wilson Jr., but he's more of a committee guy. I think Gibbs, for what he brings as a receiver, what he brings as a runner, obviously there's going to be a lot of lazy but easy and maybe even fair comparisons. He's kind of like a light Alvin Kamara to a certain degree, and that is a big-time weapon for Miami, who I think will still prioritize going on the offense and just being unstoppable on the offensive side of the ball. Seattle is up. They got edge, interior line, defensive line. We're going to just continue. I think they want to solidify that O-line. And I'm going to have them get John Michael Schmitz, center from Minnesota, just a violent center, excellent in run blocking, excellent mauler type. Also gives you a little bit of flexibility. Could potentially slide with the guard, but I think with that pick and Torrance, you're just laughing. Your O-line there is Charles Cross. You know, you got dude they got from Washington State last year. He was solid. So I think you really have one of the better young offensive lines if these two picks hit for Seattle going forward. We now have the Chicago Bears back on the clock, and we're going to have them get Anudike Uzoma, edge rusher from Kansas State. Very productive. I think edge, even, Jalen Carter, they're going to be considering Will Anderson potentially, because I do think edge is a need for Chicago. They get my highest edge rusher available, still left in the second round. We have the Chargers back on the clock. We're going to have them get a tight end in Tucker Kraft. Don't sleep on him. Dallas Goedert came from South Dakota State. Very productive. One of the better receivers. Ideal size. And I think if they're going to be getting rid of Gerald Everett and potentially Keenan Allen, replacing them. That's what we did. We got them a brand new wide receiver, brand new tight end on those beloved rookie deals, because you got that Justin Herbert contract coming in. Detroit at pick 24 in the second round. We're going to have them go on the interior of the offensive line. Get Steve Avila from TCU, the TCU's best lineman from that national championship second place runner-up team. Powerhouse. This guy's absolute mauler. Definitely fits Detroit, and I think would be kind of filling that last spot, that last guard spot, to solidify Detroit as one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, which it already kind of is, but they'd be complete, I think, if they added Avila in the second round. We have the Texans. I'm going to have them get they traded out here. We have at pick 56, the Commanders back on the clock. Could go a lot of different spots here for the Commanders. I think someone like Tyreek Stevenson, height, weight, speed in the secondary is what they could be looking for at this point to kind of complete that secondary. It's a good secondary, especially been finding hits at safety, not so much at corner, but Stevenson, Ben Stejus, Fuller gives you three real healthy cornerbacks there. Giants up at 26 in the second round, and we're going to have them get Joe Tippmann, interior lineman from Wisconsin. I think just going to kind of complete that offensive line. They're probably going to pay decent money to bring back Saquon Barkley. If you're going Daniel Jones, he's a running quarterback. Continue to beef up the offensive line, and Tippmann has a chance to be just in that area of like who's going to be the top center going in this year's draft class. He could kind of fit that mold and could be their starter there. Dallas at 27. We're going to get Deonte Banks, corner out of Maryland, height, weight, speed, good length on the outside. I think they need to continue to retool that secondary. Diggs and Bland seem like pretty good long-term starters. Outside of that, though, someone like Banks could step up. Buffalo at 28, just a weapon. Came from, I don't even know what he's going to run, but he's going to run fast, and he's going to be your gadget player. That's where you're going to get right there. I think Buffalo has shown they love using gadget-type players. Let's get a guy that might run the fastest 40 at the combine. Potential, has that potential. Now we have Cincinnati at 29. And we're going to get a Canadian, Matthew Bergeron, the tackle from Syracuse. They had some issues with their tackles. They had Jackson Carman, had like a couple good games, and then just shit games in the playoffs. So I think going tackle here for Cincinnati, if there's one that they have in that range, is where they need to go. Carolina at pick 30, we're going to have them get Derek Hall, the edge rusher from Auburn. Unique body type. I think they need to get another pass rusher outside of Brian Burns. And just at least add to that rotation. Frank Wright's going to know all about the value of having a strong defensive line rotation. They got the Broncos DC coming over, outstanding hire there. So let's get some flexibility. Or if in this spot you didn't want to go Hall, I think Zach Harrison's going to be an outstanding athlete. Potentially go there as well. Or get an interior pass rusher like Tuipulotu or Cansey. Philadelphia at 62. Again, he's fallen to their lap here. I think they're going to go Tuipulotu. We have his brother on the team. He's actually a fairly solid run defender, but I think Tuipulotu, very good interior pass rusher from the defensive tackle spot. I think for Philadelphia, there is your guy, along with Milton Williams, that can be your Javon Hargrave replacement. You have Jordan Davis as your clear run defender, your run stuffer. Get the guy that can also rush the passer and play off of Jordan Davis's strengths. I think that's going to be Tuipulotu. But much like how the first round finished, where Philly just took the edge rusher, Kansas City took the next edge rusher, Philly just goes D-tackle, and I have Kansas City going Kansas from Pittsburgh. Weird build. He's like 6 feet tall, 280 pounds, but I think he's just another versatile defensive lineman that not necessarily, I think in terms of roles, could be the guy that subs in for Chris Jones a little bit. Be the interior pass rusher. Can't go wrong with either one of those guys. And, at least this one here rubbing in a little bit. Philly going after the same kind of target positions as Kansas City. But, because we lost the Super Bowl, we get to, have our pick. You get what we didn't want. So there we go, fellas. That is my 2-round mock draft with some trades sprinkled in. Maybe we could have had a couple more trades in the second round, but really I was just kind of sitting here being like, what team's going to trade up? What kind of players are worth trading up? And I don't know, maybe we're not far along the draft process that I have clear second and third rounders that I'm like, yes, that's the guy we're going to go and get. So I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know what you guys think about your team's picks in the comment section below. Let's see. We got Arizona, Will Anderson, Josh Downs. Falcons got Miles Murphy and Cody Monk. Baltimore Ravens, we got a wide receiver there, JSN. Buffalo getting linebacker and running back. Carolina getting their quarterback in Anthony Richardson and getting a tight end. That's an interesting pick. We'd like to see maybe where you would have went different there, or if you like that pick, because he's going to be probably the best athlete at the tight end spot, and getting themselves a pass rusher. We have the Chicago Bears getting, well, that's just there because of the forfeit pick, going on the defense. Do you think the Chicago Bears will go double up on defense? Both getting A-pluses there for this site. Thank you, site. Cincinnati Bengals, maybe a bold pick going Darnell Washington at 28, but I do think they are definitely at one of these picks going to have to address the offensive line. Cleveland, the lone pick, getting Dexter from Florida. Dallas going Bijan. Banks, good height, weight, speed corner, but Bijan to Dallas. What do you guys think about that? Denver, no picks, sucks. Detroit, crushed it. Corner, top corner, I think. Maybe one of the best value picks. And they go, build the trenches. I think that's what Dan Campbell's going to do. Maybe tight end could sneak in here for Detroit at some pick. Maybe, especially moving on from Hawkinson. Maybe they want to get someone else. We got Brian Branch and Kincaid. I really like how that kind of played out for Green Bay. Houston getting Stroud, Van Ness, and Hyatt. I think very strong draft, addressing a bunch of needs right there. Colts trading up, getting their guy in Bryce Young and throwing in another tackle. Again, I think they went tackle. It'd be so that you could kick in the guard there from Auburn. I don't know why I keep forgetting things. There's just too many teams going on right now. Jags getting 2 A-pluses. They're trading up to make sure they get Clark Phillips and Michael Mayer. We have Kansas City getting Foskey and Kansky, outstanding value. Raiders getting Skaransky and Forbes, improving on offense and defense. Doubling up on offense, replacing Keenan Allen and Gerald Everett here for the Chargers. We have the Rams getting Ojulari, top edge rusher, on the board. Dolphins going Gibbs. Huh? How do we feel about that? Minnesota getting Keely Ringo. I think after the combine, might not be that surprising. Wide receiver in the first round for the Patriots and following up with an offensive lineman in Darnell Wright. We have the Saints going Ika and Boutte. So you get your dirty Mauler pick, and then you get your little bit of a luxury flashy pick. Especially, how they develop Olave. I think someone like Boutte could be interesting. Jets going Broderick Jones, Antonio Johnson. A lot of value there in Antonio Johnson. Maybe a little too much value. Linebacker, you would love to see the Giants get a wide receiver. Just wide receiver never, especially with these guys left. But wide receiver never really, opened itself up here for the Giants, for a pick that I really like to make for them. Philly getting a bunch of A's here. Lots of good value pick here. Replacing James Bradbury, getting edge help, replacing Javon Hargrave. That's kind of how I want to do it. We have the Steelers getting, I really like what I did for the Steelers too. Like all three of those players. We have the 49ers, no picks. We have the Seahawks, a lot of picks. This will be interesting, but I think build the trenches. Build the trenches here, Seattle. Tampa Bay, getting Cam Smith, Keon White, helping out the defense. Tennessee, helping out the offense, the inverse of that. And lastly, the Commanders trading up for Will Levis. And they got a nice corner to add to their secondary. So that's a little bit of a recap there. Love to hear what you guys think about your team's picks. Let me know in the comment section below. Again, hopefully tomorrow we're going to have a brand new career mode series. I got to make the graphics and all that stuff here tonight. So hopefully that's going to be ready tomorrow. If not, it'll be out by Thursday. Hope everyone has a great Remembrance Day. Call your mothers. Tell them you love them. And I'll see you guys back here the next one. Like, subscribe, all that cheesy YouTuber stuff. And peace out.